Mr. Carpenter, Mr. Nikolai said you'd want me to sit a little while before my cabinet meeting and do some of your sketching. Now, yesterday you asked me about my views on religion. Well, I'm a little bit like that old fella from Indiana who said, if I do good, I feel good. If I do bad, I feel bad. And I'd rather feel good. I'm going to have to be looking over a few of these papers while you're doing your best to sketch me. You know, my angel mother could read very little, but she loved the King James Bible. And in the King James Bible, they substitute the word charity for love, especially in that beautiful passage in Corinthians 13. And after a while, I would read that whole passage to my mother. Church was a great activity growing up, and I sort of liked to watch the preachers. I'd get up on the stump and imitate them a little. I particularly liked the ones who would be sawing the air like they were fighting off bees. Reminds me one time we were in this little cabin in Indiana, and this hard-shell Baptist preacher, he was laying it on thick, and he came up for this congregation that couldn't have numbered more than 17, 18 folks. And he said, I am the Christ whom I shall represent today. And he was all attired in the old school clothes of a kind of colonial top and these old baggy old pantaloon breeches, and all toe-collared and made out of simple linen. And he started to lay into us. Well, about that time, up on the rafters, a little bitty lizard, which we call skinks, this little blue feller, in Indiana they call them skinks, fell down underneath his collar. Well, he didn't miss many gestures, but you could tell it got to him, so he just reached that one button that was holding up his top and flung it across the room. And then he kept on going, and that little feller got down even a little further south, and the next thing you know, he took his leg and he undid that other one button, and he flung it across the cabin in the other direction. And now he's preaching without missing a beat, and he has his original birthday suit on. Congregation, we were astonished. We'd never seen such a sight in our lives. Finally, one little old gal in the back, she stands up and she says, Preacher, if you represent the Christ, well, I'm done with the Bible. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm presenting a moving target for you. Well, I'll try to sit still and get back to my work, give you a chance to draw some. That does remind me, though, of another story. One time in southern Illinois, a preacher was telling us that in the Bible, there is no perfect man but Jesus, and no perfect woman either. Well, then it was a woman this time too. She jumps up and she said, well, I know of a perfect woman. And the preacher said, you do? Well, please share it with the congregation. He said, well, it was my husband's first wife. He's been telling me about her for 6 years. Yeah, well, I tell you, church, it was a good activity for some. I've never belonged to a church. But if there ever is a church that will inscribe over its altar, thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and thy neighbor as thyself, well then I will join that church, body and soul.